What's going on, guys? My name is Matt Freeman, and I like to do this a lot. And today we're back with another stream. For some reason, seems like that light is uberly bright in the background, like more than normal. It almost makes me wonder if it fell down. I wouldn't think so, because it could be pretty noticeable if it moved. It's pretty tight up in there, but damn, it just seems like it's awful bright in these videos anymore. Well, last night, at the end of last night's stream, I was taking electronical things apart, like an old drill and the battery pack for the drill, and was explaining about the cool things that I could possibly do with this drill. Then I had a big old brain thought, right? Doesn't happen often. Well, the point was, if I could take the battery pack apart, figure out some way of hooking it up so it only runs 12 volts, that I could just run that battery pack off of the speaker system that I have. That actually, the more I think about it, I'm pretty sure I'm just destroying it because it's been laying on the floor, and I am not positive, but by the looks of it, I have absolutely been stepping on it, and so there's now a pretty high probability that I broke something, which would really fucking suck if that was the case. But obviously, there's no one to blame but myself for leaving it on the floor and not picking it up when I noticed it was sitting there because I knew I was going to eventually step. But so I was thinking about the fact if I could just naturally plug my battery pack into my speaker system set up to run off of 12 volts, but it was an in-house speaker system, so it had an AC to DC converter. I just scrap all that DC converter crap out of it, hook it straight up to batteries, it should run the thing perfectly fine. But that will require lots of fabrication, me custom rebuilding an entire battery pack for myself, resetting up the whole speaker system, because even though I could bypass some of the stuff and it would make it easier, there's still parts of the speaker system that was built in to use the original power setup that it had. So I'll have to go through and actually figure out what's needed, what's not needed. And then on top of that, all I'm doing is making a portable speaker system. And that's, even though that's that was the main goal, I started thinking more about it and was like, well, what if I just made a portable, it's still going to be probably big and bulky. I would say it's going to be like yay big by yay big. It's going to be a small box, probably wood, because that's where pretty much the only stuff that I have to really mess around with is wood anymore. And so I was just thinking, what if I just made a battery box, period? So it would just simply be a bunch of batteries in a box that will hold the charge for a long period of time, but I just have it set up so that way I can run whatever. I don't have to run just the speaker system. I don't have to run just the charging system. I can run literally whatever. And this all comes possible with something else that I've showed before on the channel while messing around with electronics in the past. Also unaware if it works, so it's one of those really shitty things of you have something that you want to build or you want to use to incorporate into a build, but you have no idea if it works. So there's a possibility that I could build this whole thing, put it all together, hook this up, and then this doesn't even work, which pretty much kills the entire purpose of the thing. Now, fortunately, with what I'm going to use, if for some reason it did break, if I spent a mere $50 to $100, which I don't have right now, but still, if I have it, eventually I can buy it. This is a power power inverter is what they're called. I was trying to think, because a transformer transforms AC to DC power, and a power inverter inverts DC power into AC power. They have two separate names. I've never understood why, because they literally do the exact same thing besides the fact that they're the opposites. They still convert power. So you would think they would just make them called a power converter. It'd be either an AC to DC converter or a DC to AC converter. But no, instead, this is an inverter, an IN inverter. And inverters take DC to AC. Whereas if we have, actually, it's funny, you can see there's mud inside there. That's actually a fresh mud wasp nest. I've been watching them the last couple days fly in and out of there, and now it's all sealed up, which means there's a baby ant or wasp inside of there growing, which I will be killing because there's no way I'm going to leave it in there. So yeah, inverter takes AC or from DC to AC power. Henceforth, you plug the battery into these terminals here, and then it gives you a power plug that you can power plug something into it. Then if you you use what they would call a transformer, the transformer takes AC power, converting it over to DC power. Confusing? Yes, but it's the way life works. So if you ever have to look one up, or you have the idea of like, hey, I need this exact application where it converts a DC to AC, you can look up an inverter because that's what you're going to need. But at the same time, if you're like, well, actually, I need AC to DC, then you have to look up a transformer because they're two different names and they do technically two separate jobs, even though it's the same fucking job. It's just a different conversion. Hello, Rachel. I'm here, still playing with electronics for second day in a row. So anyways, so as I was thinking about it, just for as a simple test, just to see before ripping everything apart, spending all this time building something that might not even work, what I need to do is I need to charge this battery that I took apart last night. It's a 20 volt, 1.5 amp hour battery. And I need to see if I can run this guy off of it. The problem is like, I remember where I got this from, but this was on a computer pack. It was for like a car starter thing. So it was like had jumper cables on it and had these two massive batteries that you could hook up to your car if it died, and also had this on top of it. So like if you were in an emergency situation and needed to use something that had a power plug, you could plug something in and turn it on, and instead of using the batteries in the pack to charge a car, you use it to run this, so on and so forth. But I'm pretty sure this thing is only built for 12 volts. And this is 20. So I'm sure that if anything, I could get 14 volts to work. And I did also take apart the other battery last night that was 14 volt. And I have another one up there that's a 14 volt that I have yet to take apart. But I probably could get them to work off to run this thing. It would run at 14 volts. The converter or the transformer will transform it from DC to AC power. And then, then I'll be able to actually physically plug a speaker system into this. And then I'd have a portable battery system. I mean, like, if I could just use this battery, think about how small this could be. Okay. Literally, these would be the only two things in the entire thing that wouldn't be needed. So it'd be a battery that runs up to these two plugs here that supplies this guy with power, that converts it over. So you have a plug at the end of it. And then you could just simply carry your small little speaker system with you, plug it into this, turn it on, and then this battery would power this guy, which would then power your speaker system. And you could probably listen to speakers for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours probably with that thing running at full charge. But the problem is, I took this thing apart years ago, so I do not remember the make and model of it. B, the case that this thing was inside of did not have a make or model on it, so I would have probably had to have looked up whoever made the battery box to figure out what this actually was, what its power rating in was, what the power rating out was. I don't know none of that. I did a smidgen amount of research. All right, Rachel. just smidgen amount of research for pretty much all you can do if you have a electronic device that you don't know or it doesn't have any form of name on it or anywhere that indicates like who the company is that makes it. The easiest way of going about it is looking up the parts board here. So like this can't remember what the name of it is. It starts with a C. But yeah, it's the board. It's this green thing you see. It's the green thing that all the things are soldered to and everything. PCB board. That's what it is. It started with a P, but it had a C in it, so I was kind of right. You look up the PCB board because it does have an imprint. Usually, sometimes they don't, but usually it's got an imprint on it that tells you a little bit information. So like this one says SI in capital dash 150 dash 1. That's the only indication on this entire thing that says anything. Now you look that up and you will find there are things out there that say, oh, that board's generally used for a power application, which is exactly what it's doing. It's a board that's running for a power situation, but it's all I could find on it. There was nothing that said, oh, look at this. This is a fucking power inverter made out of that board or anything like that. And I mean, I didn't go too extreme on the whole searches for information on it, but I did enough where I felt like if I was going to find something that actually could point me in a direction of saying like, hey, this is what this is and this is what it does, then I didn't. I never got it. I never saw it. And so the only part that really sucks about all of that, not knowing stuff, is the fact of like, if this thing's only meant to run at 12 volts and I throw 20 volts to it, I'm sure any person out there, regardless to if you're a wizard when it comes to electronics, is pretty smart to figure out that something that's meant to run at 12 volts will not run on 20 volts because that's going to be way too much power for it. So I don't know. It just kind of puts me in a predicament. I either say screw it, set everything up for it to run on it anyways, and plug it in and just cross my fingers and pray that it runs. Because I'm not saying it can't run at 20 volts. I'm just saying I have a high probability to guess that the battery pack that I took this from probably had two 12-volt batteries in it. They were probably just running in parallel, so that way they lasted like 10 times as long. Henceforth, why it would be okay to jump your car with it. But here's the thing: it's also got it was a what they call a jump pack. So it's a little electronic device that's literally set up to jump. Physically take a car battery and jump it to be able to start. So that would also make me feel like the batteries might have ran a little bit higher, like they might have ran at 14 volts. And then in which case me using my 14-volt batteries might make more sense, because then if you think about it, if you hook a 14-volt battery charger up to a 12-volt, yes, it's higher voltage, but it's not by much. And usually what just happens is it gives that battery more amperage, which allows the car battery, the 12-volt battery, to charge twice as fast. This is also the reasoning in smartphones. If any of you out there have ever wondered how you can physically take this cable and plug it into your wall and have your phone charge normally, but now you're taking this cable that's a lightning charger and you plug it in. Now all of a sudden your phone charges twice as fast. It's just because it's giving you more amps per volts. So it works in the sense of let's see, actually this battery this battery is an exploded cell phone battery. It's hard to tell with this angle, but it's definitely fat. You can see it got real fat on the top side, which is fine. I found the phone in my garage, and this is like, I'm pretty sure this was my very first LG phone I ever had, and as you can see, the screen is not in great shape. But I don't know if this battery will actually physically tell me the amps that come on it. Usually that's something that the phone tells you, okay, well, this is 3. I don't know about this, but I can always use bullshit thought process if I can't find it. No, it doesn't actually say. So, yeah, so I'll just go off of what I generally know is what happens with most things. So, this phone here in my pocket, right here, this was from Walmart, right? Simple, cheap Walmart phone. It's a Verizon, but it's about at Walmart. And it charges when it's charging, it's plugged into the wall. It's getting 5 volts at 0.5 amps, and it takes generally about 6 to 8 hours for my phone to charge from dead to all the way to maximum. So when you use a lightning charger, on the other hand, the lightning charger, if you read it, says that it gives 5 volts at 2 amps, and this is because now it's providing the phone with a crap ton more amperage. Phone can handle it. I mean, it can realistically can only handle so much. I'm assuming that 2 amps is probably the maximum that a phone could handle without it like really giving you too much issues. But so literally the whole point of a lightning charger, the whole reason that your phone fast charges is because you're giving it more amperage than what it normally was supposed to run on, so it charges faster. So it's the same difference of why battery packs that you plug in your phone when you're, or into battery packs you plug into your car when your car's dead, it might not be something that has a ton of power that will last for a long time, but it's something that has equal voltage and high amperage, henceforth it charges your car twice as fast, and it allows you to have it plugged in for say 5-10 minutes and turn the key, and it will at least give you enough to allow your car to start up, and then hope that your alternator runs from there. So providing more amperage to something that it wasn't meant to use can be a good thing, but it also can be a very flawed thing. And I don't know, this battery, I'm looking at my 20-volt battery, where the fuck I put it, lost it already. It's a 1.5 volt hour, wait, yeah, 1.5 amp hour battery. And realistically, that says exactly what it is. It runs 1.5 amps per hour if that battery is running at full. 1.5 amps isn't a ton. I mean, realistically, it's not a lot at all. I mean, amperage is like where you think about with electronics. So, for instance, you plug an extension cord in and people say you're going to start a fire. Now, if you're like me, I've got everything in my entire life is hooked up with extension cords. And it's like I've never once even came close to starting. I lied. There's one time, but I kind of caused it. But besides that, I've never really had a opportunity in which my extension cords are now all of a sudden catching fire, and I don't understand why, because it comes down to amperage. Obviously, an extension cord is only going to handle so much amperage. So say you have a extension cord that can run 12 amps and you have it running 100 feet, and then you plug something into it that runs on 5 amps, and then you plug something else that has 5 amps, and then you plug something else that has 5 amps, and then something else that amps. If you have all 4 of those turned on at once, you're demanding 20 amps out of a cord that can only give you 12. Henceforth, why extension cords get really hot and eventually lead to catching on fire and causing problems. So realistically, as long as you're smart about it and you actually physically think, I mean, you have to know what you're talking about, what you're looking at. So for instance, I got an extension cord running out here and it plugs in. Well, I have a TV, a VCR, and where's that cable go? I forget what that one's plugged into. Oh, and then the speaker system for my chair is all plugged into one extension cord. Now, here's the thing. I'd never have all 3 on at once. So I never have to work. Well, I usually never have all three hooked up at once. Let me rephrase that because I do have them on all three at once, but I usually never have them all three hooked up at once. Now, speaker system. Speaker system is going to draw the most amperage because it is an actual amp. It's an amp inside of a speaker box that's powering two speakers and a large sub. So initially, even though it's not currently sitting here bumping, it's still providing the system with amperage so that way the system can run. Now, I don't know actually how many amps the speaker system has, but I know that the television sitting behind me is a 19-inch Element TV. It runs at 720p. I think it says it runs at 1080i, which if anybody else doesn't understand televisions and how quality of televisions work, if you ever go to buy a television and it says it runs at 1080i, don't buy it. There's a lot of people out there will be like, well, mine runs at 1080i and it runs just fine. But here's the knowledge for you. I'll learn you real quick about televisions and save you some time and effort. If it says it runs at 1080p, that means it runs at 1080p constant. Okay, that means it just runs 1080p. That's it. Like my television in my room is a 29-inch, or no, it's a 32-inch 1080p TV. Now my parents, they have a new TV, but their original TV before this was a 1080i, and I knew of why you don't want those, but it's one of those things. It's hard to explain to your parents what the difference between a 1080i and a 1080p is, and have them understand and not rush out and buy the cheapest 1080i TV that pops up on for sale, and then they're wondering why they have these problems. But midway through watching a TV show on this television, the quality would change. And here's the problem. My television runs at 1080p, which means that if the TV gets too hot, it runs at 1080p. If the TV is too cold, it runs at 1080p. It runs at 1080p no matter what. That's the point. But a 1080i runs at 1080p until the television gets hot, and then it knocks your quality down to 720 to allow the TV to cool down. So if you buy a 1080i television, it makes it sound like, oh, it's here to help save your television. But even though you can watch something on 720 and finish a movie at 720 and be like, that was just as good quality as a 1080, and then you watch the same movie again on 1080p and you're like, I mean, I really didn't notice much of a difference. But we're physically watching in 1080 and then it changes to 720, that's a very noticeable difference. So say you're watching a 2-hour movie, and in the course of 2 hours, 6 different times your television has to kick down the quality to 720 just to cool down to then kick it back up into 1080. And that's my parents had this problem. And my parents for a long time thought they were going crazy. And because like it's just one of those things where you're watching it, all of a sudden it looks like it changes quality, but you're like, did it really? Or did my eyes go blurry or what? And then all of a sudden it comes back. So it's like, well, what's the difference? But that's the difference. That's why if you're going out to buy a television and you see this really badass big television and it's super cheap, but it says it has anything I, because it's the same case. So now they're into like 4K and stuff like that. Well, it's still the same thing. You can still get a 4K I or a 4K P. Okay. If you buy the I, it means that it runs the maximum quality it can until it gets hot, and then it kicks you down to the second highest quality just so the TV doesn't get too hot. But my television in my room, I got 2 years after high school. I still have it, still runs perfectly fine, still gives me 1080p, and has never died. So the proof that, oh, the TV gets hot and it helps to save the life of it, the damn TV's like fucking 8 years old and still runs perfectly fine. So there's absolutely no reason to go out and buy a 1080i anything, because it makes no sense to be like, oh, let's save the quality of the screen. Oh, heaven forbid it's only going to last for 10 years because TVs only last 10 years to begin with. I mean, another 2 years from now, my TV will be so outdated that 1080p probably won't even be a good quality of television. I mean, I remember just a few years ago when 4K came out and everybody was all hype about 4K. Oh my God, it's so beautiful, it's so quality and so crisp. I mean, shit, I remember going to Best Buy with Mike for Christmas shopping, and we stood in the 4K aisle and stared at a picture of the beach. And literally, we both just were like, dude, it literally feels like we're looking through a window. Like it felt like it was right there because the crisp, beautiful screen of it. 4K is not even the new thing now. You can get 8 and 16K televisions now. So we're literally talking, so it goes 16K, 8K, 4K, 1080p. So now it already shows you that with this new 16s that are out, that the quality of television I have is 4 generations old. And if you think about the fact that everything in this world is currently to 1080p standards nowadays, you watch YouTube videos in 1080p, you watch all movies that you buy, all movies are now Blu-ray movies, and people are always like, oh, I don't have a Blu-ray, but that people just don't understand that the reason it's in Blu-ray is because it runs in 1080p. That's what true Blu-ray is in 1080p. So yeah, it's literally to the point that like my really nice television is not really that nice. It's actually just common. It's standard. It was nice when I got it, but now it's equal with the date. And then about another 2 years from now, well, sure enough, we'll probably have like 32K or some bullshit like that. And my TV will be so obsolete that it'll be hard to even watch anything on it because everything's got to constantly grow all the time. So never buy the eye of any form of television. You find a television, a 1080i, and it's a fucking 80-inch television, but it's $300, and you're like, well, this is weird. Something's weird about this, but I'm gonna buy it anyways because it's 80 inches. It says it runs in 1080, but no, it's not, because it's gonna constantly kick you down, especially for an 80-inch screen to run. It's gonna create a lot of heat, so it's gonna overheat very fast, and then you're gonna get knocked down to 720, and you're gonna wonder why you spent that much money on this shit ass TV. And it's like, well, now you maybe understand why 1080i televisions are so cheap to buy, because of the fact of they suck. Nobody likes them. They build them because they sucker those people out there that have zero electronic, knowledge in their head, and they go, oh, well, this one's so cheap, and look, it's got a special feature in it that physically helps save the life of the television. And it's just like that system that they put in there to do that literally doesn't save the television at all. All it does is give you crappier quality, and it probably works your TV twice as hard just to have it kick from different, like from 1080 to 720, back to 1080 to 720, then back to 1080. It probably does more work doing that than if it just let it get hot and played you 1080 the entire time. So, little knowledge about television. But the television behind me is a 720, and it's only 19-inch, and the entire television runs off of 3 amps. The VCR that's sitting on top of it, it's a VCR DVD player combo. It's old as the hills. I bought them brand new. I bought this one, and my parents bought me one for Christmas because I asked for one for Christmas. Because this was the brand. The two that I have here are the very last VCR made to date by man. Okay, they don't make VCR players anymore. It finally got down to the point that the very last company that was still making VCR players was like, look, and this is, I think, 2 years ago now. So 2 years ago, they came out and said, look, we're done making VCR players. Nobody's buying them. The only reason you need one is if you're being nostalgic and you're like, I have a VHS tape and I want to watch it on VHS for some stupid reason. Because then if you're watching, a cassette tape, you're watching at 280. That's 280p. Okay, so even on a 780p screen, it don't look great. And so that's the only way that, the only real reason why you need a VCR player anymore. So the company, who is it? I forget now. FunAI. I don't know. It's FUNAI. So Funia or something like that, whatever the hell the name is. They decided, like, hey, we are the last ones making VCR players. this year's the last year that we're going to continue to make them. And then you will still be able to buy them in the store. But once eventually people finally buy them, or they finally get sold out, they won't make them anymore, and you just won't be able to buy VCR play anymore. And it's very weird to think about, because I grew up with VHS tapes and VCRs and stuff like that, and now they're obsolete. There's no point to them, and no one makes cassette tapes anymore. No one's actually cassette tape stopped being made in 2000. So it's been 20 years since somebody put something on a cassette tape, or a VHS, I guess I should say. Cassette tapes are more music, but so they came out and they were saying, like, look, this is the last time you can buy them. So because of that, I asked my parents to buy me one, and then they bought me one, and I said, you know what? I'm going to buy another one, because here's the thing. It was $20, okay? $20 for a VCR and DVD player combo for one. Now, DVD player still runs on the same quality as the VHS player, so maybe you can get 360 out of it, out of the DVD player, and that's still pretty. But so I figured, like, hey, look, now I have one that realistically shouldn't break and should last for a really long time, because I'm barely going to watch VHSs out of it. I'm hardly going to use the DVD player, because I have other forms of DVD playerage that I could use. I'll buy one more just in the off chance that, like, 50 years from now, not really 50, but at some point if I ever end up being lucky enough to have my own children, I can be like, oh, children, check out these badass movies I have that are only on VHS, because I don't have them on DVD. Or it's one of those things where the movie was good, but I don't really think it's that good to have to run out and buy the DVD of it when I have the VHS of it. And then I could show them this really horrible quality movie, through a really old ass, horrible quality technological device that would never have been opened. It will still be sitting there brand new in the box, ready to go. But I eventually took it apart and stuck it up here underneath this television. So now that's where that's set up. So I can watch VCR movies out here, or DVDs out in the garage while I'm working on stuff. I generally turn my TV on and let it play TV shows or old movies or stuff like that, just because I've seen them a million times. I don't have to really watch them to know what's going on. And so is that. So the VCR player the TV runs at 3 amps, and the VCR under it only runs an amp and a half. Now this is a 12 amp cord. So with the two of those plugged in together, and that's when they're running. So even if they're not running, they're not drawing the power, but still not, even if they're drawing power, they're only sucking out 4.5 amps out of a 12 amp cable. In which case, I don't know how much my speaker system runs, but I almost guaranteeingly bet you that the speaker system does not crest over 6 amps. In which case, the extension cord is only providing, say, 10 amps of the 12 amps that it's built to run for, so it doesn't catch fire because it's not running more amperage than what it needs to. A lot of things that blow people's minds. It's like a circular saw. So like a saw you would plug in, and you have your hand on it, it goes, and it cuts like that. Circular saw run at 12 amps. Well, a normal corded one, obviously when you use the battery powered ones, those are a little different, but it runs at 12 amps, just that one saw. So people get this confused, especially construction people. You run into these problems a lot, where you have an extension cord plugged in and you have something else plugged into it that's only drawing like 1 or 2 amps, and then you plug in a circular saw into it and you start to cut, and it kills the entire extension cord. And it's like, well, it's because you're trying to draw 12 amps from a 12 amp cord, and then you also have this over here that's running at 1 amp. So you're drawing 13 amps out of a 12 amp cord, and that's something it can't do. When something runs at a specific amperage, it can't not have that amperage to run. So if it needs 12 amps and you have 1 amp being taken to something else, and the cord's only meant for 12 amps, and then you try to use it, it's going to try to run it off of 11 amps, and it can't use 11 amps, so it provides it with that 12 amp, but the 12 amp overpowers the extension cord by 1 amp, and since the cord's not built to go over 1 more amp, it pops your breaker, and you have to run down to your breaker box and pop your breaker back open. This is the reason why breakers are a thing, and henceforth why you go to use something in your house and then boom, all of the power goes out in that room and you're like, oh bummer, now I gotta go flip the breaker. And until you figure out what that new thing is that's plugged in that's causing it to happen, it's just going to keep constantly kicking your breaker, because somewhere there's more amperage being pulled in than what the wiring that's hooked up to it is physically allowed to provide you with. So if you ever get a circuit breaker, it keeps popping over and over again, first think to yourself, what have I plugged in recently? And if you think about it and you think, I haven't plugged anything in this room in for a really long time, like everything that's already plugged in has been plugged in for a long time, then you need to flip the script and say, okay, what if it's not something new that's plugged in? What's plugged in this room that has now been on that maybe hasn't been on before? Because this television runs at 3 amps, but it's sitting here off. Obviously, it's still getting power. You can see the power light is on the very far right. So it says it's on, but it's not running. So at this point in time, I guarantee this television's running at like half an amp, just for the sole purpose of it's got that light that says, hey, we have power. All you got to do is turn me on. The moment you turn it on, boom, it's going to suck the rest of that amperage to run everything else inside of it. So it's your bedroom and it keeps popping left and right and you can't figure it out. Well, then you go looking around your bedroom and realize that you had a VCR that you left on and it's been on for a few days, or you've had a couple extra lights that recently have been on all day. I mean, it takes a lot usually to pop breakers constantly. And so it's going to be a noticeable change. Something's got to be different, but yeah, so a lot of times also, you can either have an amp set up, or you can either have your circuit breakers in your house set up in 2 ways. Either one, you can have like half the room's going to be like, say you have obviously 4 walls, but say 2 walls each have their own plug on it. And these 2 plugs, like this wall and this wall, both have their plugs on them. And both those plugs run to this circuit breaker, whereas the other 2 walls on the other side of the room also have plugs, and those 2 go to a separate circuit breaker. Obviously, that's the best way of going about it. That way, if you have something plugged in, all of a sudden now half of your room doesn't work, you obviously understand that you've plugged in too much for that side, or you have it the opposite way, which is a lot of times what most people have. It's what is in my house. It sucks because it's even worse, but what they do is they say every room, it has its own circuit breaker. So the living room all runs on one circuit breaker. The kitchen all runs on one circuit breaker. The bathroom all runs on one circuit breaker. And whereas these circuit breakers are usually generally higher in amperage, like for our living room runs a 50 amp circuit breaker, which means you can run 50 amps. And the moment you hit 51 is when it pops the breaker. And so that's why we have lights and a TV and a computer and all this high load electronical shit in our living room, is because obviously the living room is meant to have most power. The kitchen, I think, runs at like 40 amps because you've got a refrigerator, then you got a microwave, then you've got a dishwasher or an oven, and there's all these things out there that run on electricity that obviously draw power. Now, on top of that, the circuit breaker for your plugs are also run to your lights. So you have to put that in mind too. If you've got 18 lights in your kitchen and then you start plugging a bunch of things in and you're like, well, I've only plugged in like 10 volts worth of stuff, but my shit's popping, it probably means that your lights are drawing probably 10 volts themselves. So these are more complicating things to run by. So the only thing that makes it good about having it set up the way my house is set up is if you plug something in and then the breaker pops, you obviously understand that you're plugging in something that takes more amperage than what that room even has available to provide for you, and you can move accordingly. But when it sucks and they got the room separated, it's better because that way you're not running 40 amps off of just one simple breaker. You have 2 separate breakers for the same room. The only reason that sucks is generally if it's split up like that, they have much smaller amperage breakers in your breaker box. So in which case this wall and this wall both only run at 15 amps, and it makes it a lot easier for you to pop over the amperage limit when you have these things. Oh, isn't electronics so much fun? I actually sit here and talk about this shit now for like the fourth stream in a row where I've just blah, 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 my mouth over electronics. And I get done talking about it and I shut the stream down and I literally just sit here and go, man, I've learned a lot about electronics. And this is all knowledge that I learned myself. Like, it's not anything that anybody sat me down, was like, Matt, we're going to teach you electronics. And boom. And then I learned all this stuff from education. Like, this is all just me learning through life. I can't tell you where half of it came from. I know that it's all accurate. I'm not just making bullshit up here. I'm telling you facts, okay? But it's just the fact of like, it's not like one specific person ever taught me what I'm telling you now. It's just things that I've just learned over life. And I did take basic electricity in high school, which tells you, hey, this positive, this negative, you put these two together, you make a light bulb glow. That's pretty much what basic electricity was. It was, you took a couple of wires and they gave you a piece of paper with a diagram on it, and they'd say, here's a light switch, here's a plug, and here's a light bulb. Hook these up so when you flip the switch, the plugs get power and the light bulb lights up. And then you just wired it like that. And then you gave it to the teacher and the teacher tested it. And if it was right, he gave you a different paper and gave you different things and said, here's 3 light bulbs. Now wire it up so when you flip the switch, this light bulb comes on, but these 2 stay off. But the moment you unflip the switch, this one goes off and these 2 come on. So, I mean, it's just, it was simple, very simple. Once you learned wires connect to things and things go, basic electricity was a breeze. I flew through it. I got an A on it. It was super easy. I had a great class. It was full of a bunch of awesome people, like Mike. Mike was actually in my basic electricity class. And we used to shock the shit out of people because it's what bullies do in class. And so we both are out on that. I'm assuming he passed basic electricity, but I passed basic electricity. Then you get into carpentry class. Well, I got into carpentry class. They don't teach you nothing about electronics or like electrical systems in carpentry class because they teach you how to build a house, and no senior class has ever finished a house. So no senior class has ever gotten to the point where they could teach somebody about how to run wires through a house because no one ever makes it that far. So never learned anything electrical from carpentry. I just learned how to build a house. And then after high school, I worked 2 years with an electrician, which I will totally admit that in those 2 years, I learned more about wires than I ever thought that I'd personally want to learn, in the sense of what certain size wires can handle, specific amount of powers. Like probably my all-time favorite saying, and I guess I will slightly apologize because I guess it might be a smidgen racist, but it means zero racism in my head. It's just the fact of what was told to me, it clicked, and now I will never, ever be able to forget it. So when you're using wires that you get and you're going to run, I was looking around because I knew I had a pair of wire laying around somewhere, but I don't know where it's at to show you. But when you get a strand of wire, like housing wire, that you're going to wire something up with, you're going to have a black wire, a white wire, and a copper wire, okay? Now, say you're like, okay, well, you got to hook the positive to this spot and the negative to this spot, and the copper wire goes somewhere, and there's no instructions. It doesn't physically say like positive here, negative here. All the only thing that a light or like a plug switch will show you, which also would be nice to have it around because it would be something else. But again, I don't know where one's at off the top of my head. I'm sure there's one out here somewhere, but they have a golden screw on them. They have a silver screw on them. And then they have like a copper screw in a sense. And so it makes no sense with gold, silver, and copper, or you have black, white, and copper. So you're like, well, what one of the black and white wires go to the other, to the other colors? Like, how do you figure this out? So I was told this phrase, and this phrase, I'm telling you, I don't think this has anything to do with actually being racist, but I'm just covering my ass in the off chance that somebody watches this and goes, that guy was racist. Like, I'm not trying to be racist. It's just how it works. Black people wear gold, white people wear silver, and copper goes to copper. Once you learn that, you've learned how to wire, okay? Black people wear gold, which means your black wire goes to the gold screw. Your white people wear silver. Well, guess what? White wire goes to the silver screw, and copper goes to copper, which means the copper wire that's exposed goes to the copper terminal. And once you learn that, then everything you wire from there on out is a breeze. It goes flying by, and then you're almost just kind of like, wow, I feel like this is probably not the way that they truly teach people about this stuff, is giving them small euphemisms like that. But it's one of those things where once I heard that, it clicked in my head, and now I'll never be able to forget it. It's also like spelling the word because, okay? Here's the thing. When you're a little kid and you need to learn how to spell the word because, and it sounds like this big word that's super complicated and there's no way you're ever going to be able to spell it. I had a teacher who had an euphemism for how to learn the word because. And she's like, once you learn this, you'll never forget how to spell the word because. And because of this woman and what she taught me, I will forever be able to spell because. Because is big elephants could always use small elephants. That's literally, that's the infamous. Is it dumb? Absolutely. But guess what? It spells out because in the process. Big B. Elephants, E. Could, C. Always, A. Use, U. Small, S. Elephants, E. Because. Boom! Isn't that smart? See, some teachers think outside the box, and they think of these clever things. And they taught me this in third grade, which at the time in third grade, I used to just run around and say, big elephants could use small elephants, just because I was taught this, but I never really truly thought about it until one day I grew up and I had to write the word because, and I literally said big elephants could always use small elephants as I was writing it out. And I was like, holy shit, she physically taught me how to spell because with this thing. And now, like I said, now I obviously know how to spell the word because, but it also works out that I also have this tricky way of never being able to forget how to spell because. It's like for another trick I can this one's probably something at this point somebody out there has already told you or showed you, but I suck at multiplication. I really suck at it. And I would do my multiplication cards with my mom. And, I would get to certain ones and I'd slow down because I'd have to really start thinking about it. My mom, she's not good with math either. But then you could hold up any card and she just snapped to the answer like instantly. And I was like, you just like, once you've learned these numbers enough, does it just get memorized to the point where there'll be a day where somebody will say this to me and I'll be able just to snap and say it? And she's like, well, I still got to think about it. She's like, but there's certain ways that you can think about it that make learning your multiplication and everything that much easier. And obviously I was like, oh, do tell how to make math easier. And I'm sure that there's a clever way with most numbers, but nines, I always sucked with my nines. Multiplication of anything times 9 was out of my game. I was like, nope, sorry, can't help you there. I look at it sounds confusing. I'm counting with my hands. I count to 9, then I count to 9 again, then I count to 9 again. And my mom tells me this fancy way of doing it. Now, because of the way she did it, I can now answer my nines pretty fucking fast due to the fact that I've learned this clever system. But here's the thing. So when it comes to nines, which, like I said, some of this, I'm sure if you guys know what I'm talking about already, you probably are like, this is like simple child stuff, Matt. And I'm like, hey, I didn't learn this, but for like maybe a few years ago. So I'm proud of myself for learning this. Oh, Super Diesel driving past my house right now. Yeah. All right. Pulling out my handy dandy riding board here, okay? Just to show you guys the coolness of this, all right? So we can start with a 9, right? Okay, this marker sucks. So that's great. 9. See it right there. I wish I had my black marker. Where'd that go? It shows up much better than the red. It used to be sitting right here, but pretty sure I used it like a Sharpie, and that's probably the last I'll ever see of that. Yeah, I don't see him. Unless it's over here. And I'm not seeing him. So that's about that. That's about it with that. Okay, let me wipe this off real quick. Now, so we start with 9, right? 9 times 2 is 18, okay? So here's the thing. So then you write 18 next to that. 9 times 3 is 27, okay? So you write 27 underneath of that. 9 times 4 is 36. So you write that underneath of that. 9 times 5 is 45. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a calculator with me, and I just told you how bad I suck with my nines. So now you're already probably like, how is he doing that so greatly? Well, here's the thing. Let's do 9 times 6, right? Ooh, bigger numbers. Now they're going to get more complicated. Not in slide this. So 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 9 is 81. And 9 times 10 is obviously 90. Now, here's how I did this, guys. Watch how easy this is. Super crazy. If you didn't know this about this number, it's the coolest thing. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Right? Now check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So as the number on the right side drops by 1 every single number, the number on the left side goes up by 1. So that means 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, and 90. Boom! I just taught you your nines all the way up to 10 because that's how easy it is. So now you instantly learn this and you realize how easy nines are. For some reason, as a child, the number 9 in multiplication seemed like the most difficult thing in the world. And then my mom shows me this, which my mom's no math nerd or anything, that every number that's on the right side that drops by 1, it goes up by 1 on the left side. It literally makes it near impossible. Then somebody's like, okay, well, what's 9 times 5? And I'm like, 54, because I just naturally learned that each number goes up by 1. It's a beautiful math system. Like I said, I'm sure there's probably other ones out there that do some other similar crazy thing, but I don't know. I just think it's crazy enough that I learned my nines, my multiplications of my nines, like 10 years after high school. I mean, it's only been 10 years after high school, so it's maybe only been like 4 years after high school that I learned this, but still, like, I had graduated high school before I ever learned how to do my nines and multiplication. And then once I learned my nines and multiplication, it's the easiest thing in the world. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy, guys? Is anybody even watching me? Everybody said hello, but no one's been talking in the chat. So the more you guys don't talk to me, the more I just sit here and ramble about absolutely nothing. I thought maybe somebody sooner or later would ask me a question or something like that, but no one's talking to me. So I'm just sitting here telling you about amperage and power and math numbers and the multiplication of 9. And I know that you don't care about them, but I'm telling you anyways because nobody will talk to me in the chat. There's 3 people watching. Nobody's talking. I saw a bunch of hellos, and I never physically said hello because I was in the middle of a conversation. But besides that, I just want some conversation, so I have to stop talking. Had Robbie never heard about that? Like, I'm not trying to make it sound like he's crazy, but it'd be cool to see if somebody else out there had never truly realized that. Because I literally went like 20 some years of my life not knowing my multiplication of nines. And my mom taught me that. And once you learn that, nines are the most easy number to multiply by because literally as the one number goes lower, the other number goes higher by 1. And it's just like, what? That's like the easy. Why didn't they explain that to me when I was in elementary school? When I was in 3rd grade trying to learn numbers. If they would have told me that, it would have probably clicked and I would have never worried about my nines. But then you get into high school and somebody's like, well, what's 9 times 8? And I'm like, oh man. Oh shit. And so now I'm sitting there counting my nines over and over again on my hands trying to figure out what 9 times 8 is. When it's like realistically, once you finally learn it, then it's just like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, you mean 72, huh? I didn't know. That's what you were looking for. Oh, well then what's 9 times 9? And then you're like, oh yeah, well that'd be 81. Well, all right, Robbie. Well, I'm very happy. You guys just made my night. You guys have physically made my night by allowing me to know that I physically helped somebody else see that way of how that number works, because it is how that works, and it is cool. Like I said, unfortunately I didn't know my nines, so once I learned that, I learned my nines. But now you already probably know your nines, but you know it works that way. It's kind of cool, and it's definitely cool to show other people, because there are definitely other people out there that do not know that that's how that works. Like, I guess that they just don't think about it enough. Like, they know their nines, but they don't think about the fact that just because this number is this, and then the next number is less, they're like, well, 27. Now this one's 36. Well, now this one's 45, and so on and so forth. They don't really, I don't think they think about the fact that one number drops by one and one number goes up by one. So, today feels like I'm on like crack cocaine. I'm not really sure why. I'm just wired, man. I think what it is because I went out and spent $5 on a case of Mountain Dew, and I've drank already two of them, and I'm about to crack open my third one, which I shouldn't, but I'm going to anyways because I'm a rebel without a cause. And I've been drinking only about 2 pops a day for the last couple months. And so I feel like that because I'm now drank 2 Mountain Dews, and Mountain Dews are a lot more sugar potent than the cheap pop that I've been drinking, I'm pretty sure that I'm on a sugar high at this point in time. And this is why Matt's doing a lot of extra talking this evening. Well, we would like to thank our unofficial sponsor, Mountain Dew, for allowing me to go out and buy a case of them from the drive-thru. Yes, you heard that right. I did just give a shout out to Mountain Dew and thank them for allowing me to go to a store to purchase their beverage, because one day they'll sponsor us, but for now they don't. And so since they don't, we have to go out and buy our own Mountain Dew. But that's fine, because one day we'll get a Mountain Dew sponsorship, and then I'll be able to give Robbie codes to go to the store and not pay a bunch of money for Mountain Dew. Wouldn't that not be the coolest thing in the world? Team Mountain Dew, I'm all about it. All about it. It's our biggest plug. We joke about it even when we're not recording. We're down south and we're riding around and oh, really? We're going to get more money tomorrow? I like money. You guys have ever heard or ever seen the movie Idiocracy? I just recently rewatched it the other night for like the 100th time, but one of the biggest sayings in that movie is, I like money. I like money. Do we have to, I'm not saying this, Rachel, as like we're just going to cut ties and not never go back, but do we have to finish it before we get the money, or are we just going to get the money and then we're eventually going to have to go finish it? Because obviously it's like raining and everything right now. Which I'm not sure if it's raining right now, but it sure is windy outside. I believe it's the mouse, but I did a quick whip around there because something ran into my garage. I heard it scurry across the ground, and so did my puppy. She was like, "What?" But it never showed up, which would allow me to think it had to have been a mouse. But yes, even while we're not even recording, we what? Did you guys like purchase baby bunnies, or you just had a baby bunnies that showed up in your yard? I feel like how the fuck did they get in there? The fence is all the way into the ground, so I mean it's not really like they could just crawl through it. So I wonder if that means like one day you had the gate open and the fucking rabbit came in and put babies in your yard. Except for even at that, how the hell did baby bunnies hide out in your yard without Bubba finding them? Because if you guys don't know about baby bunnies, the mama just finds a hole and oh, okay. That's a bit different. I was gonna say, because like literally mama bunny digs a hole that's flush with the ground and puts her babies in it and covers it up with grass. So it's very easy to, especially during the landscaping life, it's very easy to massacre an entire family of baby bunnies because you didn't know that they were there, because Mama Bunny is not very smart. See, every time that somebody talks about a hostas, for some reason, I instantly think of hot biscuits, but hot biscuits are not the same as hostas, and I don't know why. Because Rachel just said hostas the other day, and I said hot biscuits, and she said no, but I gotta get hot biscuits. And now Joe just said hostas, and the moment Joe said hostas, my brain was like hot biscuits. Yeah. So I'm assuming Mike accidentally ran one over with the mower or something, because like I was saying, am I going with you to get your hot biscuits, or am I now getting cut out of this scenario and we won't be on a hot biscuit chase together anymore? For everybody out there that doesn't know what a hot biscuit is, I'm sorry, because it is a beautiful thing for butter and or um um gravy to lay. But no, it's not a real hot biscuit. What's it really called, Rachel? What's the real word? Because I call it hot biscuits all the time that I forget what it's really called. I know it sounds like hot biscuits, and it's henceforth the reason why I call them hot biscuits, but I do not for the life of me remember what they're really called. Oh, excuse me. What? Hibiscus, right? Hibiscus, and I was like, hot biscuits, and then boom, hot biscuits. Because Matt always got to change every word of everything. Hibiscus? No, 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 no hibiscus. It's hot biscuits, okay? But Joe, are you saying that you had a bunny that was a outdoor bunny, like as in like it was a bunny from the outside, or like it was a bunny that you kept in a cage outside that you one day then allowed to just live outside? Because I feel like both of those are two separate. Was it a wild rabbit, or was it a bunny that you had as a pet? Because I could understand maybe that the dogs would leave alone a pet bunny, but I feel like a real rabbit would not get along with dogs at all. Um, I don't know, but I'm assuming. So, Holly, are you in your new apartment house or whatever it is that you're living in now? See, that's dope, because at least the cool thing about having a pet bunny that you left in your yard is if he did get super massive, at least you never had to worry about like a hawk flying down and picking him up and taking him away, because they probably couldn't pick up his fat ass. Which probably, with you guys being more in the city now, that stuff's probably a lot less likely compared to like out at my house where I still have woods and all that stuff around me, where it's a lot easier for a fucking hawk to be lurking around. And I also often laugh about the fact that when my dog's tied up outside all day, and I'm like, I would love to see a hawk try to take my dog. Because the moment that big ass bird comes flying down at my dog, she's gonna turn to attack mode. Didn't you just tell me a couple days ago that you were moving? Um, that you were moving, that you just moved out of your house or something like that? And so I was just asking you where's your living situation now, and if you were enjoying it. Was my general synopsis of questions. If I had those giant feet out there on the beach, I could have outrun those birds. You're a psycho wiener. Boop bop boop 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 bop boop boop bop boop 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 bop boop boop bop. So here's the thing, right? I have this Uncrustable sitting here, which I totally totally expected to eat soon. Which I mean, I can. It's not that I can't eat it, but so you're supposed to take it out of the freezer where it's frozen, and then you leave it out at room temperature for an hour, and then after an hour, it's edible. And I pulled it out of the freezer probably an hour and 15 minutes ago. So it was so it's definitely ready to eat. I just find that so strange. It only takes an hour to thaw this entire sandwich out of the freezer, and which is just edible then. I'm assuming by the way that you're talking about it, Joe, your small dog-sized rabbit does not exist anymore because you aren't using words like it is the size of a small dog, and you said it was the size of a small dog, which would be a past tense word proving that your rabbit no longer exists. So what happened to your rabbit? Did it die of old age, or did it die of something else, or did it run away? Did Sammy tell you it ran away? She probably fucking butchered that bitch and ate it in front of you, and then said, "I'm sorry, Joe, but your pet rabbit ran away. But look, we have a small feast that'll last us a few days. Don't know where it came from." Oh man, that was a beautiful, glorious bite. Look at the size of that. Obviously, that's not the size of bites I take. They're really more like this. Or like this. Sorry for eating on stream, but I'm hungry and I want a snack. And the thought of an Uncrustable peanut butter and grape jelly sandwich fucking hitting the spot. Mmm. Well, did you see the dead body, or was it just like she died? Oh no, I'm sorry, I discarded, I buried her before I could see it because you never know. I wonder what that's like. Like I've had wild rabbit before, and I like the taste of it. But I wonder if you kill a house pet rabbit when it gets older and you ate it, would it taste the same or would it taste different? Because it's the same thing, but it's raised in two completely different times. And if you think about it, wild turkey is completely different than store-bought turkey. So it almost makes you wonder if a rabbit that you shoot out on a farm to eat would be different flavored than that of a rabbit that you keep in a cage. And the problem is that the reason why people don't know this answer to this question is because by the time you buy a rabbit and you start to raise it so it can get old enough for you to eat it, once it gets big enough and old enough, you've done fallen in love with the damn rabbit, and then you don't want to eat it. I'm sure my dog would eat a rabbit. She's sleeping right now. She's so cute when she's sleeping. Trying to be sneaky quiet. You can see her right there. She's face first. That's her head, her little ear, and her. Oh. There's an ear there, and there's her. Okay, stop going the wrong way, Matt. There's her nose. There's my baby right there. You make you little baby. I'm sorry, Joe. Something tells me that farm that your rabbit to meant that it's frozen inside your freezer somewhere, hidden amongst all the deer meat and other assorted dead animals in your freezer. I actually have no idea what's in the freezer. I just know what's in my freezer, which is lots of deer meat. and a few turkeys, a lot of rabbits. That's also a funny thing when you think about it, with these poultry factories shutting down due to the fact of COVID-19 and everything. Everybody was like all worried that meat prices were going to skyrocket and it was going to be harder to even acquire meat because of the fact of the production of it was going down to the sickness and everything like that. That situation does not bother a family like mine. I literally have 2 deep freezers in my basement full of deer meat, turkeys, and rabbits. So even if all the meat ceases to exist for the next year, dude, we're good. We got meat for every day, no problem. That's not including every summer my mom gets half a pig and half a cow butchered and frozen. So if the shit hits the fan, we all run out of meat, you guys come to my house. I got the meat, okay? I'm not talking about in my pants. I had nobody here to laugh at my joke, so I had to give a sarcastic laugh. Now run, 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 jump. I can be a backpack. Why you run? So I wonder if that song would give me copyright strike because that's a YouTube song anyways. Like, that's a song that somebody made as a joke for YouTube. All right. Well, Robbie, you're more than welcome. When the shit hits the fan, I'm gonna have me a fucking Robbie meat care package waiting for you. When you show up, I'll just give you a box and be like, guard this with your life, take it to Holly, and you guys can survive on the meats. Okay, now I'm going to look up the song. No, Arby's does not have the meats. I have the meats. They lie and they stole it from me. They were like, "Oh, we like this. We like this slogan of Arby's has the meats." But it's actually Matt Freeman has the meats. But we just won't tell him or give him any cut of the money, and they stole it from me. So that's why I'm currently in court trying to sue them for stealing my thing, my slogan. A penny for your thoughts? All right, let's all listen to this together. Rachel's probably sick of it by now. I've played this a lot recently.
Penny for your thoughts. I hate Brenda, and a bad guy hit me in the shin, and I peed all in my pants. Couple of little music can't help. Rockin', now, roll down. Down to the beach I'm strolling, but the seagulls broke in my head. I said, seagulls, stop it, please.
Not to stroll down that beach. Said seagulls gonna come. They did. And they did. Got hit in the neck with a hefty sack. Where'd it come from? Now run, 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 jump. I can be a backpack while you run. Run, 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 jump. Now stop. Put me down.
I love to groove and boogie. Show you some dance moves. No, I don't want you to.
Giant feet out there on the beach. I will outrun those birds.
You're psycho wiener. Gonna grab my beater.
I love this song, Rachel. I sing it all day long nowadays. We're literally just sitting here singing this as we were live streaming. That's why I was like, we gotta listen to it now. You put a fish in our basket. Yeah. I forgot I did that. Apology. The best part of the song's coming up when he talks about a log. The very end of the song, when he talks about a log, it's the funniest part.
One day I was walking and I found this big log. Then I rolled the log over. Underneath was a tiny little stick. I was like, that log had a child.
That log had a child.
Listen, boy, someday when you are older, you could get hit by a boulder while you're lying there screaming, come help me, please. Let me see off your knees. Stop it now. Yeah, whatever. You're sort of pitchy. Didn't like it. Listen, man. I'm not your friend. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep.
Yeah. I love that song. One day, I looked under a log, and underneath that log was a baby stick. And I was like, oh, that log had a child. That log had a child. Ooh, this 6 grams of protein from that sandwich is really making me burp. Whoa, Yugi! Whoa, Yugi, don't use that Thunderbolt. I'm combining 2 different shows. Yo, Pikachu, use that Thunderbolt. I can show you another funny video if you guys are down to it. To see another funny, it's not a funny song video. It's just a funny video talking about Pokemon. Oh, Pikachu, use that Thunderbolt. I am Banana Man. I believe this is it. Oh, no commercials. No commercials being played on my own video.
Together again at last. Why did you hit some of banana?
Classic duo.
I am a banana.
Awesome. If I don't look at Banana Man, he can't hurt me.
Banana Man nods 3 times. Banana Man watches you sleep.
No. Going upstairs.
Banana Man will be back. All right. Time to get some more wood planks. Wood planks. What? Banana Man will remember.
Please remember it favorably, Banana Man.
I mean, honestly,
Matt does not want to displease. You don't even really have feet. You just have that nub where you peel the banana.
exactly. That's Banana Man's nubs. You rub the nubs. You rub Banana Man's nubs. Get your 3 wishes.
Dude, I don't know, man. Dude, there's Boto, dude. That Boto. You better get your Pikachu in the Boto. That SS boat. How you like that, baby? Yeah, baby. Hit him with the Thunderbolt. Right, you. So I'm a nerd your mind right now. Nerd the mind. Yeah, he absolutely is a boy because in like one of the later seasons he gets a track used on him by a female Pokemon.
Matt, you suck.
Yep.
Matt's like, Pikachu used the track of me. I'm just thinking it'd be awesome if that's how you found out that Pikachu was gay. Because he's like, I don't give a fuck.
Maybe Pikachu's bi. He just wants to get it in. Pikachu's just into buttholes. I can't relate to Pikachu. Wait,
Hey, I'm Banana Man.
you are Banana.
Banana Man's having fun.
Yo. I just drank some milk. Fuck. Unacceptable.
Don't even start.
Acceptable.
Nothing drives me up more around my like dust is
Right,
That video only literally makes me laugh due to the fact of when they talk about the Pokemon. We used the Thunderbolt.
You better get your Pikachu in the boat, though. That SS boat. How you like that, baby? Hey, baby. Hit him with the Thunderbolt. Right, you.
With the Thunderbolt.
So,
Because it is funny if you've ever watched the original fucking Pokemon anime. They definitely talk like that, and it's fucking hilarious to listen to the fucking old cartoon now where they're like, yo Pikachu, hit him with that Thunderbolt. If we could watch Put in Reverse Terry, that's a good call. We're already watching videos on my phone. Let's watch Put in Reverse Terry, Put in Reverse. Hey, this is very random, but I have to go. I will be right back. No one move. I may or may not regret this decision, but I have to do it. Totally just ran up on 3 raccoons in my yard. I knew they were there. I heard them. A baby and a mama. Or 2 babies and a mama. I'm hoping my mom's awake. If she's not, I might have to go inside. Did not answer. I may have to run inside here in a minute. But yeah, I had a garbage bag set outside. And I'm pretty sure it didn't have any food in it. It must have, apparently, but I'm pretty sure it didn't have any food in it. And I came outside. I had 2 bags outside. And I came outside the day before yesterday. One of the bags was completely ripped open. Hello? Hey, I'm assuming Dad's still awake. I'm sorry. Do you think that he would want to set the trap tonight? I just chased 3 raccoons out of our yard. And they're currently in the trees that the cage is underneath of. But they're, how those, I mean, he might want to. I was just going to say, the bags of trash that I had sitting outside, they ripped them open. That's why I figured it out. The other day I walked outside and one of the bags was ripped open. So I picked that bag up and threw it in the trash can. Was like, I didn't think there was food in them. So I thought it was weird, but being a raccoon, they're going to go after anything they can smell or get a hold of. So I threw it in the trash can. I think it was Monday. And then this morning when I walked out here, I looked on the patio and the second bag had gotten ripped into. And so I knew that they were there while I'm sitting here live streaming. And as I'm live streaming, I'm hearing plastic being like torn up and stuff. And I'm going, I bet you something's in that bag right now. So I took off up there. I told Stream, I said, "You guys wait here. I'll be right back." And I was like, "This could be a very bad decision." And I took off running, and I got up to the patio. And as soon as I got to the patio with my flashlight, two baby raccoons take off running and climb up the trees, and then Big Mama follows them right up the tree behind them. So, like I said, they're literally in the trees over top of the trap at the moment. It's probably yeah, but if he gets the food, I'll set the damn trap. It's not like I don't know how to set that trap. I'm just thinking if we have 3 raccoons around here, and the whole reason we could trap them is to get rid of them, it'd be nice to get rid of them before they take aim toward like garden or anything like that. Oh yeah, but okay. All right, bye. So obviously, as you could just hear that conversation with my mother, I had bags of trash, 2 bags of trash sitting on my back patio. The only reason they were sitting there is because the day that I filled them up to throw them away, the trash can was full. So I had to wait until the trash can got dumped before I could throw them in there. Well, then that was this past Sunday, that they got dumped. The trash can got dumped. And so Monday, I realized one of the bags was ripped open. So I took the already ripped open bag. I think they're already back over to it. I think I just heard that noise. But so I picked the trash up and threw it into the trash can, and the other bag wasn't ripped open. So my thought was like, apparently, well, this bag had food in it, and the other bag didn't. And so because of that, that's why they tore up the one and not the other. So I just threw a bag away and was like, oh, it's whatever. I was thinking it might have been a squirrel or a mouse or something got into it. The rips weren't very big. But then, like I said, this morning when I got up and walked past the bag, I looked over and realized there was trash all over the patio, which meant that something had physically gotten into the bag and pulled stuff out, which usually doesn't happen unless it's a larger animal, like a raccoon or a possum or even a skunk at that matter. They tend to go in and pull stuff out, whereas a mouse or um, a squirrel will climb into the bag, get what they want, and then pull that out. So so just hearing that noise out there, hearing the sound of what sounded like plastic wrappers and things being opened and stuff like that, was like, something tells me that there's something in my yard, on my patio, and it's messing with that bag. Being as it's not middle of night, but it's 10:30 at night, so it's later at night. Mice could be out, but they're not going to make near enough that much noise for you to actually hear it enough to be like, oh, look, we should probably go look what that noise is. And squirrels aren't currently out. It kind of narrows it down to the point that it has to be a nighttime creature. And all 3 nighttime creatures are big pains in the butts in the city. And so what do you know? Here's Mama and her 2 baby raccoons, which, don't get me wrong, if I could capture a baby raccoon and get it fixed and have it to the point where I wouldn't have to worry about them, then that would be super cool. But probably not going to happen. Now I see that nobody is here watching. Everybody left. So that's always good when you're live streaming and everybody decides to leave. It's actually even funnier to think that when I got up and ran is when everybody left. I came back to nobody watching. And Holly obviously just recently said, I'll be right back. So, I mean, she has an excuse, but where did everybody else go? Nobody else wants to watch me. It's already 10:30, and everybody else is like, I need to go to bed because I work tomorrow. And I'm like, yep, me, lazy Matt, not working. Just staying up all night doing whatever he wants to. I think I hear him again. I'm gonna go back up there. We was hunting animals without the puppy. My puppy is probably like, well, I wanted to go get animals with you. But we have successfully set the trap. Whoa, my dad trapped animals and only nuisance animals. So we set the trap. It's literally right under the tree in which the raccoons are currently inside of. So if we're lucky by any chance, we can catch one tonight.
Oh, what? Was you all sad you didn't get to go out there?
I'm sure my dog heard Grandpa talking in the yard and was like, "Oh, why's Dad and Grandpa both outside?" I'm not with them because as much as my girl's just a baby little puppy girl, she's so much a farm dog. She loves to chase animals and she likes being with the boys. It's funny because, you know, as dogs have personalities, sometimes, you know, they are different from other dogs. I love you, my babies. I love you. I do. I love you. My good girl. But no, stay here. No. Izzy, you're not listening. Come back. Come. No. Izzy, come. You stay. You stay. You stay. You come up here. You come up here. You come up here. Sit. You come up here. Sit. Oh, you're stuck. Come on, baby. You got it. He's a big puppy. Look at this cute baby girl. So I was gonna say I grew up and other people having dogs in their lives, obviously. And there's one dog I think of the most is no, stay here. Big old girl dog. Super deep bark. Real scary sounding when she barked at you. But she hated guys, like any male person. So if you were a guy and you walked into this house and she didn't know you, she'd start growling and barking and she'd hide in the back corner and want nothing to do with you and would cry to the other family members of like, why would you bring this new guy into the house when you know I don't like guys? Like it took her forever to warm up to the dad and the son just because she was that much of a hated guys for whatever reason. And whereas Izzy definitely loves everybody, my dog loves people. She doesn't care if you're a guy or a girl. I mean, she's going to love you regardless. If you're going to give her love, she'll give you love. But you can definitely tell that my dog loves guys way more than women. Women want to be all cuddly and hold her and pet her and tell her she's beautiful and they love her and all this stuff, which don't get me wrong, guys will do the same. I just physically held my dog on the floor and told her I love her. But you can tell that my dog doesn't need that attention. The attention she wants you outside playing with her. She wants you outside doing whatever you're doing. She just wants to follow you. So that's why she's a great farm dog in the sense of you were out on the farm doing work, she would be by you. She'd chase after the tractor. She just wants to be doing stuff with you. She doesn't want you petting on her. I mean, she loves being petted. Don't get me wrong. She's still a dog, but My parents can easily tell you that I am about the only person that this dog physically allows somebody to physically grab her and pet her and hold her like I'm holding her now. She'll pull away and rip away. Give me a kiss. Oh, thanks, baby. I love yous. Obviously, I'm her dad. She's smart and big enough, old enough to know that I'm the main caregiver. I give her her food. I'm the one that's always there for her. I make her go to the bathroom. I give her water. I give her toys. I give her treats. I'm the main caregiver. So obviously, she allows me to love on her and stuff like that. But every time my parents try to pet her or anything, she pulls away. She wants nothing to do with it because she's just like, you want to give me attention. Don't pet me. Fucking play with me. Throw a ball. Pick up that ball and throw it. Hey, babes. Hey, babes. Yes, I talk about you because you're so cute and I love you so much. Yes, I do. Like I said, she just walked up to me just now. I'm sitting here petting her. And she's letting it happen. You can already tell she's not really about it. She just walks away while in the middle of being petted because she's like, literally, she's like, I could care less about you petting me. It's like, I love you and I love that you love me, but I want you to play with me. And that's the only reason she's in here currently pacing around is because she's like trying to find something she can pick up and bring to me and be like, throw it. Which is a good thing and a bad thing above itself. Being as it's a good thing, it's great to have a dog. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's always got my back no matter what. She makes me happy when I'm sad or when I'm in sad times. She makes me happier. But being as instead of attention, she just wants you to play with her constantly. Then it's when it gets annoying because she can never just sit and be a calm, chilled, relaxing dog. She's always constantly out moving around looking for something to play or something to bring to you to be like, play with me, come on, play with me. Oh, baby girl, yes, you're my baby, yes. She's like a cat right now. She keeps pacing back and forth in circles in front of me, rubbing her body across my legs while I pet her as she walks by because she's like, yes, I went loving. She's in the loving mood right now. She just wants me to pet her and tell her I love her. Hey, I love you, babies. I love you. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. If you hear that knocking, that's her tail knocking because it's like a wrecking ball. She can hit anything she wants with that damn tail. And I'll tell you what, she won't break her tail, but she'll break whatever. And she's literally this TV that's sitting over here behind me. You can see it right here. She uses that I use that as the stand for my drag racing tractor. And she'll get up in the morning and shiver and shake her ass, and her tail moves 100 miles per hour and smacks the screen of that TV and goes ding, 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 ding. And it's literally like so hard where it's like, as a person taking their hand and smacking the TV as hard as she's doing her tail, it has got to hurt. It would hurt your hand. So it makes you think that like it would have to hurt her tail. And on top of that, it's like if she swung just a little bit harder, I guarantee she'd probably break the damn TV screen. She hits it that fucking hard at times. So it's one of those things where I'm sure she has like no nerve endings or she doesn't have any feeling in the ends of her tail or whatever be the case. But I got her up early, and now she's going to sit here and pace my garage because she's waiting for me to do something, whether that be play with her or take her out to go potty. So I'm going to put you back in here. Good girl. It's a good girl. Give me a kiss. Yes, I love yous. Just temporary. Stay there for a little bit. You said? Oh, it's a good girl all the way down. Oh, he's a big puppy. Look at you being a big puppy. He's a good girl. Yes, a good girl. And she'll probably start whining here in about 10 minutes or so. She'll be like, well, I've been in here and you said only a little bit. But she's a dog. She has zero concept of time. But we only have like 15 minutes left until stream is over. Almost kind of wonder. I have a trap. I own a trap, but see, the trap I purchased, I purchased it a few years ago because I got it for really cheap. It was like one of those things where everybody eventually, and if you don't have this, don't get me wrong, you're not crazy. It's not particularly always a good thing to have this, but sometimes if you live a low life standard like I do, you eventually meet friends out there that sell their life away to be able to afford drugs. And they have a whole bunch of random stuff that makes literally no sense why they have it, but they sell it to you for next to nothing because they're fixing to get high. And as much as you don't want to just willingly give them money to be able to get high, because obviously now you're just condoning the act of them doing drugs, they tend to sweeten the deal by saying, here, I'll sell you this for X amount of money. You know, naturally, obviously, they're going to use that money to buy drugs. But at the same time, I want the object that they're trying to sell to me. So it's like, well, yes, okay, I don't want to buy it from you because I don't want you to sell, I don't want you taking drugs, but I do want the object you're trying to sell to me, so I will buy this from you, and I won't feel bad for it because at least instead of sitting there thinking, well, I gave so-and-so X amount of money just so he could go out and buy drugs with it, now you're like, well, I did buy a whatever object from him, so even if he inevitably goes out and does drugs, and ODs or something, yeah, I'll be sad. I mean, he's still my friend, but at least I won't be solely feeling like I contributed to his drug miss because I'll be like, well, I mean, like, you didn't give any money recently, and be like, well, I mean, I bought this thing off of him a couple weeks ago, and people might be like, oh, well, why'd you do that? You knew he was just going to spend that money on drugs. Be like, yeah, but see, he was selling me something, and when you get something out of it, it just makes it seem like that's just being a smart businessman. Right here, this is this cage right here. This is a small, what they call a small rodent cage, okay? This cage, brand new, is like $30 to $50, depending on the brand and what you buy it. This one right here is probably more of the $50 range. It's big, beefy. It's got double doors in it. Good for catching like a squirrel, maybe a small possum. One of the two baby raccoons that was outside I could probably catch. You know, you wouldn't catch nothing big is what I'm trying to get to. It's not a large animal cage. It's meant for small animals. But I have no idea how it works. Somehow both these doors stay up. And then, because the problem is there was instructions with it, and when I put the cage in the garage, the instructions got chewed on by a mouse, and now there's about 50% of what the hell you're supposed to do with this cage is now ate into half. So I don't actually know how this thing really works, but it was like a $50 trap, and the dude who was selling it from, or I bought it off of, was like, oh, dude, I'll give you this trap for $15. Like I said, at the time, I really didn't like the thought of giving him money because I knew I was going to spend it on drugs, and I didn't want to be really like out there buying him fucking drug money, giving him drug money, but at the same time, to buy this $50 animal cage for $15 was like, yes. Because now he's losing money. He don't even realize he spent $50 on this, then got 15 back from it. So realistically, in his eyes, he spent $35 on this cage and got $15 back of it, and then spent that money on drugs. So he would have been smarter if he would just save the money to begin with and not bought this cage and bought the drugs. But now I'm the owner of this cage, which means now it works out 10 times better for me. It definitely has no form of telling you how it works. It's all torn up and missing, but I do find it funny. It does give you a small table of animals that you can catch with it and the things used to catch them. So like you can catch mice, which the size of these holes, there's no way you're catching a mouse in there. The mouse would have to be massive. any mouse that is in my garage could slip through one of these holes to steal the bait. And so if they can slide through the side of it to get the bait, then there's no point in having the door closed and trapping them in. It can catch chipmunks, which, again, I'm sure maybe some chipmunks will be trapped in there, but for the most part, it's about big enough that most of them probably figure out how to squeeze out. Or flying squirrels, which flying squirrel is a squirrel, so I'm confused why they didn't just say it can catch squirrels. But says you can catch rats and weevils, which now understanding it, rats are actually very large animals. Yes, you could very easily catch a weasel and a rat in here. You can catch a rabbit. You can catch a squirrel. You can catch a mink. You can catch a raccoon, a possum, a woodchuck, or a cat, which is funny that they say cats. But I mean, it is obviously big enough to catch one. But then they give you a little recommended how to catch them. So, like, to catch a squirrel, put peanuts or other nuts, sunflower seeds. Rats are attracted to raw bacon and fresh liver. Rabbits are attracted to fresh vegetables and apples. Squirrels, okay, that was for flying squirrels. So squirrels are peanuts or other nuts. Minks are fresh meats. Raccoons and possums are sardines, jelly, and fruit preservatives. Woodchucks are fresh sweet corn and apples. And cats are sardines, fish, or canned cat food. So they give you that little information tidbit to be like, if you've never caught an animal before, here's what you can feed it to catch it. Which I guess is nice for those who don't know what they're doing, but I've been around enough animals in my life to know what to feed them to catch them to begin with. But let's see about something first. Let's flip all these up. And then when we grab this side over here, I'm pretty sure it will start to bend the one side down or open the other side up as well. So then we got both of these. Okay, no, you got to go back. Thank you. Well, that would work, but I have a feeling that's probably not really the way it was supposed to work. And obviously, these would be like this, so once that falls, and anything runs up, and they can't open that. Like I said, I have a feeling that's probably not the exact way of how this thing was supposed to be set off, but it works nonetheless, so I don't think it really matters all too much. It's just one of those things where you have to put a lot of pressure to set this fucking trap off, if that's really how that works. Oops. So you gotta flip these guys up out the way, and these guys will slide down. Yeah, see, that won't work because it doesn't do anything with that. Plus, then this, well, that actually might be it. Maybe I got these ones backwards. Maybe that guy goes like that. And this guy tips down. And then this guy spins up and latches right there like that. I have no idea. But I think this is the way it goes. So now that's all set. And then I'm my hand's critter. Okay, now we got food over here. And we come over here and we press on the pressure. Oh, okay. So it'd have to go one way if I wanted it to work that way. So if I go this way, it stopped. So it would have to come over and physically press on the far end. So I guess it would be easier just to play it out as from this end. Blah, blah, blah. Presses on the thing. Okay, evidently it's not working for now. And I think it's because this guy wasn't there before. So I guess if anything, I could always just set it up so it was a one-time or one-side use trap as well. Set that guy like that. Put this one down. Trap it like this. Oops. This this bar, I think, got bent a little bit at some point, so it's not sitting exactly the spot where it's supposed to be, but instead of something like that where the door's open and just fell down, puts the ramp up. Come on. This is stupid. That's a very weird design, and like I said, without actual instructions saying like this is how you set this trap, it makes it near impossible. But if I knew what I was doing with that a little bit more, I might actually try to capture one of the baby raccoons, because the trap we have is meant for any size animal, and if we catch mama, both the babies will stay around mama all night until it gets light outside, and then they'll run away. Hello, Holly. I left about same-ish time that you did. I was gone for a little while. I was helping my dad set the trap for the raccoons and explaining about where they were, what they were doing. That I found them. So he set the trap, and hopefully the trap we set is actually the trap location that's at our house. There's actually underneath a bunch of trees that the raccoons climbed up inside of when they took off running. So there's a high probability they might crawl all these trees, smell that nice smelling honey on top of a marshmallow sitting on a piece of bread, and they'll crawl in that trap and trap themselves, and we'll have a raccoon inside of a trap here very shortly. But the worst part about it is now knowing that there are 3 raccoons outside, I'm not so worried so much as my dog being attacked, but I'm afraid of letting my dog out to go to the bathroom and having her pick up the scent of raccoon, because she will go buck shit crazy and chase after something if she sees it or smells it, and her natural dog instincts will be in full demand, and it will be much harder for me to control her to stop her from going after said raccoons. Because my dog doesn't have a rabies shot, she is 10 times more likely to obtain rabies from an outdoor animal if she were to run into one. So I think when I end the stream and then I go let her out to go to the bathroom, I'm going to have to kind of walk up in my yard real quick and kind of scare anything away that might be lurking in the dark, just so that way when I let her out, she doesn't run face to face into a baby raccoon, which a baby raccoon probably just be like, oh, I'm just going to run away. But like I said, she'll take off at full speed. And if she's taking off full speed after baby raccoon and mama raccoon sees it and isn't caught in the cage, then she will go buck shit crazy, try to attack Izzy for her attacking her babies. But it's the facts of living in the semi-city country and having wild animals everywhere. But we only have 5 minutes left of this stream, and I'm smoking my last cigarette to end out the night the proper way. I realized that the title of my stream was Playing with Electronics, and I didn't really play with many of them. I mean, I did a little bit. I did a lot of explanation of electronics, but I didn't actually physically work on them, which is no big deal. But definitely, again, something that I'll probably get back to doing here shortly. I have a really small television inside of my house that's it's like a 15-inch, but it's a big tube TV. It had the VCR that was inside the television with the TV. So if you've ever seen them, they're like yay big high, but it's just a little square 15-inch tube television. So it's got the big backing kind of thing. And underneath of it had a VHS player with the little buttons to say start and stop and stuff like that. And I kept it because when I kept it, I wanted to keep it for a gaming TV. Even though it's really small, it's still something you could plug old ass game consoles into and play them and not have it take up a fuck ton of space. So say I was sitting out here in the garage and I found my fucking, I found it I didn't know that it was just sitting right up there, but Say I found my Nintendo 64 and I wanted to play it, and I could just plug it into the small television, and instead of carrying around a tube TV and a VCR, it's literally just built in, one the same, and I could simply plug in my Nintendo 64 and play some video games while I'm on it. But main reason I kept it, besides that fact of wanting to use it for that usage, I wanted to make a game cabinet, like where I have all this old gaming console sitting around. I got my old Nintendos. I got my original Nintendo. I have my Super Nintendo. I've got the old PlayStation, the Nintendo 64, just all these different consoles that don't run on any HD, period. They just run on some form of video. And the video they run on is obviously the yellow little plug cable that plugs into a television, which that TV has in front of both and in the back. So it's got two channels, two AV channel inputs. And so the way I was thinking about it is like, it's not really something you'd be able to move around or carry it around kind of thing. But, it could be something I could build for my room, but just build a small wooden cabinet that's physically just a television in the middle. And it just has little shelves along the outside of the TV, up and around it, and maybe even the bottom. And then just literally set it up so each little shelf on the side has its own console, and the wires just feed through the back. And then, you do some wire management to kind of keep them out of the way. And then you just leave all the plugs next to the back of the TV, and then you just put a piece of tape on them. It says, this one's for the Nintendo 64, and this one's for this, and this one's for this. Kind of make little tags for each wire. And then that way, if you're sitting in your room or your garage or wherever you're at, and you're like, I feel like being fancy and playing some old video games, and then you could just have everything right there, and then just be like, okay, well, I want this one, plug that one in, and then turn it on or whatever, and so on and so forth. Do it all kind of like that. That's just kind of my general idea I've always had for it. And then, depending on the amount of consoles or the amount of space that you could use on the sides, if you have some up top space or some bottom space from underneath the TV, then you can just set that up to be where all the games go, or the accessories. So like controllers will go in the top one, but the bottom one's where the games go, or maybe if there's enough room per each shelf, you could put the controllers in the shelves there, but then put all the games in the top and the bottom, or whatever. Like, I just feel like it would probably be a wooden structure. It'd be about yay tall by like yay wide. And it'd be just more of like a bookshelf looking thing that would have doors. But when you open up the doors, it opens up to a television with all the game consoles surrounding it on the outside. And, do some form of wire management, like I was saying, to the back. So everything is like, what wires what. And on top of that, it makes it easier for plugging in. And on top of that, then you can also set it up where you plug everything, all the consoles, you have all the consoles plugged into a strip, and then you just plug the thing in, so that way you don't have to be like, oh well, now I need to plug this one in. Like, they'd all be plugged in and ready. All you would have to do is plug that strip into a power cord, and then you'd have all your consoles there available. Which the other thing that would work out with doing that, which would involve spending money, and with not having any at the moment, leads to problems there. But you can buy AV selectors. So you could buy like an AV selector that has like 6 different channels on it, and have it like sticking out of the wood somewhere. So that pretty much just makes it so you can run all the consoles into the same connector, and then have that connector run to the TV. So then if you're like, I want to play PlayStation, you flick the switch and the PlayStation comes on. But then say a little bit later, you want to play Nintendo, you don't want to play PlayStation anymore, you turn off the PlayStation switch and you turn on the Nintendo switch, and that allows the video to stop being brought in from the PlayStation and allow the Nintendo to start being picked up. A lot of people use those switches for VCRs and DVD players and all kinds of other sorted different things throughout life, where you would have all these things plugged in. My grandma had one a long time ago, but it was only like a three-way switch. So it had her DVD player, her VHS player and I think a Nintendo plugged into it, and then that way when I was sitting there and I'd be going watching a movie or something, I'd convince her to let me play Nintendo. She'd just have to reach over to that switch and hit the switch, and it would switch it over to the Nintendo instead of having my grandma get down on her knees and never be able to get back up because she couldn't move very well, just so she could go in there and plug the wires in when she wanted them, kind of thing. Because obviously TVs only usually have one AV plug-in part, and even like now, I've got my VCR hooked up to my TV. But if some point at some time I'm like, oh, now I want to play my Sega Genesis that's sitting here, or I want to play my Atari that's sitting here, I have to physically unplug the VHS player and plug in my game console separately. So I have to get behind the TV and do the wiring and everything, which obviously is not that hard, but I'm just meaning like it just makes it so much easier if you can just have all your different things plugged into one strip that just allows you to flip the switch from say 1 to like 8, and each one, channel 1 through 8, each have their own separate game console hooked up to each one. So that way you can just be like number 1 being Sega, and then number 6 is PlayStation. You can just flip it to number 6, and then the PlayStation starts playing through the television instead of having to physically get behind the TV to fiddle with wires and stuff. And like I said, just makes a little bit of non-complicated life just become even that much more or less complicated. So probably be the way I'll go about doing that. But for now, it'd still be a project in and of itself to at least get the television outside, and start building the outside shell for it, because obviously I still got to do all the woodwork and get the initial thing built before I can even figure out how I want to go about doing the rest. Because once I get the thing built, I'll have to figure out if I'm going to drill holes in it to feed the wires through, or if the wires will just drape down the back, and then how I'll actually design the back, because I want a back to it so stuff can't just fall out the back, and so on and so forth. And I've got some cheap wood, like other projects that I've used wood may have a few screws in them, stuff like that. Wood that's just old, it's been sitting outside for a while, so it's like discolored and stuff like that. But I do have some boards stuck off here to the side. You can't see because they're kind of tucked around the corner here, but I have some boards that are brand new, really nice quality wood that, if I needed to say build a shell of something first, even out of the crappy wood, and then, line the outside with the nice looking wood, it could still make it look like a really nice game cabinet. But obviously with wood, it really works the same with anything, but obviously with wood, a TV and all the game consoles plugged into it, it's going to be heavy. So it's one of those things where once it gets built and I eventually then put all the stuff in it, it's going to need to have to stay wherever it goes, because it's not like something I'd be like, oh, I'm going down south, I'll take my massive game console thing and just pick it up and carry it. Like, it's going to probably weigh 300 pounds or so. So one of those things that once you build it, you need to make sure it's in the place to go. So once I build it, put all the games in it. If I build it on stream or I just build it on YouTube, and period, to the point where I'm like, look, this is how I did it. This is what I did. And then, so on and so forth. I'll put it all together here, why it's here, so you guys can see it. But then I'll take it all back apart, just taking all the TV and all the game consoles out of it. And then I'll pick it up. I'll carry it into my room. I'll place it into my room, and I'll put everything back. And in which case I might take a photo of it and post it on Instagram. So if anybody out there isn't following me on Instagram, I would suggest looking me up. It's actually, if you go to my main YouTube page and you go over to the About page, you can actually find the link to my Facebook and my Instagram account on already linked to YouTube. So just makes it a little bit easier in the off chance that somebody out there actually wants to look me up. I always tell people where to find me, or that you're more than welcome to find me. It might take me a little while to accept a friend request of somebody I don't truly know, but eventually I'll accept your friend request, and then you can follow me on there. I don't really care. It's just I don't check my friend requests a whole lot. So sometimes they pile up and I have 10 of them before I ever think like, I should probably go to that. And then I have to go through and accept everybody's friend requests all at the same time. Because like I said, I just don't pay too much attention to the fact of if somebody's sent me one or not. And still, like I was saying with the electronics, there's still a lot of other things I wish I would have actually gotten into doing, like messing with this power inverter. But like I said, I have a 20-volt battery that I'm willing to test it with, and I'm worried that the 20 volts is going to be more power than what this inverter is going to be able to handle. And not knowing if the inverter actually works or not also leaves a major issue. So I think tomorrow what I'll do, I might record it and edit it together for a YouTube video just to give somebody else out there maybe an idea, but I might possibly figure out a way to attach some wires to these plugs here, because this is the positive and negative terminal for a battery, but this had a very specific plug-in plug to it. And I'm pretty sure, without 100% knowing, but I'm pretty sure I just threw this connector away not too long ago because I didn't remember where it was for. I couldn't find what it was for or think about what it was for, so I just threw it away. So I don't have the right connector for it, but I might figure out how to drill holes in there and bolt little wires to it and kind of create my own posts and have two separate wires coming off, so that way I can plug in 12 volts to it and see if I can actually get it to work. Because if I can get that thing to work with the 12 volts that it has and have it power something, then I will have obviously known that it was probably a 12 or 14 volt battery that was running that guy to begin with. If that be the case, the 20 volt battery I have probably is going to be a little bit too much overkill. But both these Craftsman batteries that I have that still charged up but just didn't last nearly as long could probably be hooked up together. I could charge them up, hook them up to that, and have it work out pretty nice. Hello, Tiffany. Unfortunately for you, I'm actually about to end my stream. It's been 2 hours and 9 minutes. And I finished my last cigarette, and every night we always smoke one last cigarette before I go. So I'm sorry that you unfortunately showed up at the end, because now I'm about to end it. But I still appreciate you showing up and saying hello, even if it is at the end of the live stream. But I'm going to go now, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed this 2 hour and 10 minute stream. If you did, a like would be much appreciated. If you're already part of the channel, please consider sharing the video and showing other people how exciting it is to be a part of these nightly Matt Freeman live streams to help boost our channel just a little bit more and help us get even that much closer to 500 subscribers. I feel like I should stop saying the subscriber count, because I was so proud of us for being at only 21 away from 500, and we just lost a subscriber, which put us back down to now being at 22 subscribers away from 500. So that was a bit sad, but we can't control everybody's happiness. But I appreciate all of you out there that have subscribed and kept up with everything, and and been there supporting me, because I appreciate you. And I appreciate you for appreciating me. But I'm going to go. I hope all of you guys have a fantastical night. And I will see you tomorrow for the next fantastical Matt Freeman live stream. I'll see you then. Goodbye.